Shin Ultraman is easily one of the greatest sci-fi films to come out in recent years. Whether you're a Toku fan or not, there's a lot to appreciate about this film, from its action, the scope, visuals, fun characters, and its message of humanity, while imperfect, is still worth something, and that everyone is unique in their own right. Fitting considering that the film is essentially a modernization of the original 1966 TV series in a condensed feature-length format. Now, what if I told you it didn't quite end there? Shin Ultraman has a spin-off. Quick history lesson. After SCRYE Productions had suffered a loss in viewership when Mighty Jack and Operation Mystery ended, the company started making more low-budget efforts to stay afloat. And thus came Ultra Fight, a series consisting of 196 short episodes that featured fights from Ultraman and Ultra 7, all airing between 1970 and 1971. And when they ran out of footage to reuse, they took the suits that were often used for promotional events and shot new fight scenes in the middle of nowhere. All these fights were accompanied by TBS professional sports announcer Jiro Yamada. This insanely cheap but charming formula was enough to be a success that SCRYE basically did the same thing with Redman, minus the stock footage. And years later would create Ultra Super Fight, Ultra Fight Victory, Ultra Fight Orb, Sevenger Fight, Grid Knight Fight, and most notably Ultra Galaxy Fight. All of which were low-budget productions solely made to promote the Ultraman brand, either as comedy sketches or just neat supplementary material for the greater Ultraman universe. I mean, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This brings us to the summer of 2022, where, as a means to promote Shin Ultraman, writer and producer Hideaki Anno, being the giant nerd he is, asked, "What if we did Shin Ultra Fight?" And that is exactly what happened. Shin Ultra Fight would be a mini web series that showed off fights from not only the Shin Ultraman film, but original episodes using the CG models of each Kaiju and Seijin in Unreal Engine, featuring narration by Zoffi's voice actor Koichi Yamadera, and released on SCRYE Imagination and the official Japanese home video release of Shin Ultraman. Episodes 1 through 3, which are also the only episodes available on Ultraman Connection, all consist of footage from Shin Ultraman, consisting of the fights against Naranga, Gabora, and Mephiles. However, Shin Ultra Fight makes a couple of new additions here, minus Yamadera's voiceover. The aspect ratio is changed to 4:3, there's a filter to make it look like the footage is deteriorating, and they add the grunts of Ultraman and Mephiles. And it actually makes the fights even better, as it was something that was sorely missed in the actual film. My editor agrees.
What?
But don't think just because you watch Shin Ultraman, you've seen some of Shin Ultra Fight, because you haven't experienced Shin Ultra Fight. Episode 4, directed by Kazuhiro Nakagawa of the Godzilla vs. Hedorah and Gigan shorts, as well as being an AD on Attack on Titan, Shin Godzilla, and Shin Ultraman, features Ultraman fighting Gabora only to be interrupted by Naranga, who also joins in on the fight to help out his Kaiju brethren. It's a fun and neat little short that is standard Ultra Fight affair, but with a more comedic edge. It's also worth noting that all the motion capture performers were from Stunt Team Goku, the same stunt team behind Attack on Titan, Shin Ultraman, and Shin Kamen Rider. Oh, and heads up, if you're watching Shin Ultra Fight on the Japanese home video release, episodes 3 and 4 are swapped. Then we get to episode 5, directed by Kensei Nakayama, who was also an AD on Attack on Titan and Shin Ultraman. By the way, all the directors in Shin Ultra Fight were ADs on Shin Ultraman. We are treated to a wrestling match between two Ultramen, where electric towers make up the corners of the ring. Later on, Naranga comes up and charges the ropes with electricity, and wouldn't you know it, the fake Ultraman was Zarab in disguise. A surprise to no one. This gets followed by episode 6, directed by Lento Ueda, where Ultraman chases down Zarab, constantly threatening to Space Samurai him to oblivion. Zarab tries to make peace with Ultraman, only to trick him into falling for his special attacks that, luckily for him, don't require any special effects. The meta humor is just immaculate. And now we get to episode 7, directed by Ryotaro Koguchi, who my good friend Yoko did an interview with a while back. Basically, all the Kaiju and Seijin tag team Ultraman with bamboo sticks. Unfortunately for them, Ultraman happens to know Shadow Clone Jutsu and a little bit of Hokuto Shinken. This ends up with Ultraman meditating before Rider kicking everyone with versions of himself from various multiverses that he has summoned. However, it is no time to rest, as it will not be long until Ultraman's greatest enemy arrives. Episode 8, directed by Norichika Oba, is basically Ultraman asking everyone for their help. You know, as if he didn't just kick the shit out of them earlier. Gabora digs away, Naranga just disappears, Zerob stares at a starfish and thinks about how it looks like his mouth, and then Mephiles and Ultraman get so pissed that they set themselves on fire, and their fight gets so intense they blow up the Earth. That's one way to get rid of Zeton, I guess, just blowing up the Earth before he does? Episode 9, directed by the GOAT Shinji Higuchi, is a recreation of the Zeton fight from the original series, and a very faithful one at that with how everything is shot and edited. How is the Earth back to normal? Don't worry about it. I also love how goofy Zeton's CG model looks in trying to replicate the original suit's motions. If you've seen the original, you know how this goes, with Ultraman getting defeated by the space dinosaur. And yes, they still call Zeton a space dinosaur here. Just don't think about it too much. And finally, episode 10, directed by Oba. Ultraman lies on the beach with his life drained from him. All the Kaiju and Seijin carry him off into the ocean and leave his body to rest at sea. Farewell, Ultraman. We will never forget you. Wait, he's alive? Shit, never mind. It looks like nothing can beat Ultraman after all. Oh, hey, I mean, this means he has another chance against Zeton, right? Right? And he's just beating the shit out of everyone again. Because of course, why not? Why? God, Ultraman is such an asshole in this show. And they even reference Don Fry's fight with Yoshihiro Takayama. And it all ends with the Earth getting blown up. Again, the Earth explodes twice in this show. Shin Ultra Fight is a show. In fact, it is the show, and I sorely wish this was much more accessible than it is now, because it's so much cheesy and goofy fun, especially if you're a fan of Shin Ultraman. It's a bizarre web series with so much charm that it's guaranteed to stay in your mind. You'll be at work one day and all of a sudden you just start thinking about the time Ultraman meditated before doing a rider kick with various versions of himself across the multiverse. I really adore how self-aware it is, and that it fully understands and embraces what it is and runs with it, as opposed to being too self-aware and carrying itself about in a lazy, tasteless, and condescending way, which has unfortunately been too prevalent in Kaiju and Toku parodies. Even Shinji Higuchi looks at Ultra Fight with great admiration, cause that's just the guy he is. If you have the means, definitely check out Shin Ultra Fight. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I want to give a shout out to my channel members, and if you like what you see, consider supporting the channel on Patreon, where you can get early access to videos and exclusive content. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see y'all next time.
それでは皆さんごきげんよう。